Hey, it's Nick.
And hey, it's Rich.
We're doing a 1500 point battle report, Empire versus Skaven. We're using the 8th edition rulebook with the 2009 Skaven book and the 2012 Empire book.
Alright, so for this battle, we have 5 different pieces of terrain. We have a mysterious forest, impassable terrain, which ends up being the watchtower, a tower of blood, a hill, and a standard building.
Alright, for the Skaven side, I have a Gracier as my general. He had 2 additional tokens. After his roll, he ended up with 5. His spells, he also got Pestilent Breath, Vermintide, Plague, and the dreaded 13th spell. I have an Engineer with a Doom Rocket, a Battle Standard Bearer with the Under Empire banner, 2 units of 5 Giant Rats with a Packmaster, 30 Storm Vermin equipped with shields. They also have a 3 command, and the champion had a tail weapon. They also had an attached wind mortar, 30 Clan Rats with a poison wind mortar, 10 Globadiers with an attached poison wind mortar, 3 Giselles, and then 2 Plague Claw catapults.
For my general, I had a warrior priest in heavy armor with a shield. With extra equipment, he had an obsidian lodestone. I had a battle standard bearer equipped with the Razor Standard. He had full plate and a shield. Another hero I had was a witch hunter with a brace of pistols and a speed potion. My units were 39 spearmen with full commands. This unit had an attachment of 10 crossbowmen and 10 free company. My other unit was 27 greatswords with full commands and a detachment of 12 swordsmen. I had 5 Reiksguard knights, 5 pistoliers with a musician, and a Hellblaster.
Alright, so I won for the roll, so I took the south side of the board and placed my first unit.
For deployment, since Nick won the actual roll, he had an advantage since he had these small units of rats. Kind of left me in the unknown where I should place my items. I start off with the pistoliers, mainly because I have Vanguard. They're very mobile. Later in the deployment, I ended up placing my spearmen on the left-hand side. My overall goal was trying to heavyweight one side so I can maybe make a gap in his line, but I ended up backfiring when he heavy loaded the other side of the map when he had the range superiority.
So the way I set up my infantry, I knew he was going to take some extra time on that right side of the board to come around, so I didn't really worry too much. I had the Clan Rats over there just in case, the Storm Vermin to see what happens, but I was going to pretty much shoot when I had the line of sight. I put the slaves over on that side just to deal with the knights and or whatever else, the pistoliers. And then this game I wanted to use those Globadiers to counter the knights. I thought there might have been a steam tank, so that's why I have a lot of no armor save stuff like the launchers, the mortars, the globe throwers, and then even the Giselles to take out anything with high toughness and armor. But that's not the case, so at least if I could lock something in with the Skaven slaves, I can use those Poison Wind Globadiers to just knock out some knights.
Right before the game started, I did have the opportunity to use my Vanguard. I just moved them up just to be in a position to start striking the Globadiers.
Alright, so Rich won the roll-off. He took turn 1.
Alright, Empire, turn 1. For basically my part, I've had to kind of play catch-up. I had to get my main army onto the other side of the board, or the opposite corner more of. So I ended up moving right into the mysterious forest. At that point I was kind of worried. Could be something that would just hurt me for an extended period of time. Ended up just being an abyssal forest, which just causes fear. Had no impact on the game. I moved up full. I also ended up moving up my pistoliers to get in range of one of his Globadiers. I really wanted to knock those things out as soon as possible. I was able to take shots at them, inflicted 2 wounds, but unfortunately they do have a ward save if they're within 3 inches of your unit, and they save both of them, so little to nothing happened on my turn.
Skaven Turn 1. No charges, just shuffled up a little bit. As you see on the left, those Giant Rats and the Globadiers moved up full. Got the Skaven Slayers a little bit closer towards those Pistoliers. As you'll see in the shooting phase, I have a little plan for them, because obviously they're going to be annoying running around all over the place trying to kill off my single wound war machines. Magic phase, try getting off Dreaded 13th on those that detachment of swordsmen. My intentions there were to cause some rats to just show up and get in his way, maybe deal with the War Machine or the Great Swords. Wasn't the best target, I guess, to inflict maximum damage, but at least it would have slowed Rich down. But however, I didn't get off the spell. During the shooting phase, I didn't do too much with my War Machines. However, one of the Plague Claw catapults did knock out 5 Great Swords. Then the Doom Rocket, which is that large template that moves up a nominated amount of dice that you decide, anywhere from 4 to 10. It did move up about 14 inches, strength 5 hits on the Pistoliers, knocked out 3. Tried to do some panic, but he stayed.
Empire, turn 2. So how I started this turn off was I did charge the Poison Globe launcher with my 2 Pistoliers that I had left over. My reasoning behind this was it would either flee and it would probably never rally due to its low leadership, or I would just kill it in close combat and have the capability of fleeing if it was ever charged. For my movement, I moved my Riksguard Knights up a little bit. I moved my Spearmen and my Free Company up full to try to get in position for combat as soon as possible. My Crossbowmen did stay still. What was convenient was his Globe Launcher did issue a flee, giving them a perfect line of sight of that globe launcher, and later I was able to destroy it in that turn. Another thing was, previous turn, I actually did move up my Hellblaster to just get a better vantage point. I ended up firing it at some giant rats. Unfortunately, with one dice rolled as a misfire, I was not able to land any wounds on that unit. Other than that, it was just pure positioning, trying to get in a spot where I can actually do a decent amount of combat where I wanted it to be when my other unit got there.
Skaven, turn 2. Shuffle up a couple of my units a little bit. The giant rats move all the way up to get in the way of the knights. This way, if he was to charge them, he'd overrun, and I would just be able to throw some more globes at the knights. The storm vermin don't really move. The clam rats just back up a little bit. I do have the giant rats you see right there next to the watchtower, getting ready for when that horde comes around. This way I can redirect them or just cause some issues. This way he can't get where he needs to be. And then magic, try to get off the dreaded 13th again, and I fail. I'm starting to get a little impatient with this spell, even with 6 dice and warpstone tokens and the +4 for the caster, still not getting the spell off. So that time I tried to get it on the great swords just to do some damage, but nothing really happened. With shooting, the Giselles kill one of the Pistoliers, so there's one left. One of the plague claw catapults just blow up, and then one of the globe launchers kills 4 swordsmen.
Empire, turn 3. For this turn, I didn't engage with any charges. I ended up moving my Pistolier up. What's really convenient was there was only one Pistolier left, so I can easily just navigate around his units to just be in a very annoying spot. I ended up actually running around all the way behind his Globadier and just hung out there. For the rest of my movement, I didn't actually initiate a charge with my Riksguard Knights as of yet. I just feel like they weren't in a good position for a charge, and it just would have put them in a bad spot. I ended up moving them back slightly. Moved the Spearmen and the Free Company up full once again. I thought they were pretty much like in a charge kind of situation or position for my next turn. I moved my Great Swords up a little bit after a swift reform, just putting them in a better formation for combat once my Spearmen got there. For shooting, I ended up taking just 2 shots at a Globadier launcher, and didn't really do too much. I ended up inflicting a wound, but another ward save was saved.
Yes.
I took a shot with my Hellblaster, and it took off 3 rats. Not really anything special. And other than that, I mean, that was my turn.
Skaven turn 3. This turn was a little bit more successful for me. I did just begin shuffling everything up on the left, on my left flank. You can see I got these giant rats positioned again, so if he decided to do something with the knights, he would have to charge and get into a position where he can't overrun into me, and the Globadiers would be able to just chuck some globes at him. Nothing really I could do about the Pistolier behind me, so I'm just going to have to really ignore him and hope he doesn't kill anything valuable. Alright, for magic, I decided to switch it up a little bit since I was having a hard time with the 13th spell. I did do Plague on the Spearman. It is 13 to cast instead of 25, so I did get it off successfully. I was only able to kill 9 because the Witch Hunter gave the unit a 2+ magic resistance, which really helped out Rich because he saved a bunch of them, probably half of them. So I probably did around 18-20 wounds, but he did save about 9 of them. So 9 drop, and no panic really there. The Globadiers kill one of the knights, which is great, and then one of them kills themselves. Must have dropped a globe on the way over there. The Stone Thrower kills 11 great swords, which is pretty huge. That actually ends up causing a panic test, and they do fail, turn around, and run 8 inches. And then all the other shooting and the Giselles, they all missed.
That was pretty upsetting, to be honest. It kind of really messed up my game. Empire, turn 4. So this was kind of a game changer. Right now, I was feeling in a pretty down state with my great swords, moving in the opposite direction when I really needed them, up in front of him, getting ready to charge, if not already in combat. But unfortunately, they were not. I did get them to rally, but really the game changer here was I needed to get my spearmen in combat already, just get them over there. They were in desperate danger of all of this magic going on. I got lucky as it was, barely taking any damage from these spells. So my best odds of getting into combat were attacking these giant rats that were sitting next to the tower. And I needed an 8 to get into that combat, which, I mean, it's slightly above average, so I decided to give it a go. Luckily, he did issue a flee. At that point, I couldn't necessarily just have a false charge, so I took a leadership test to charge his clan rat unit. At this point, I needed a 12 to get into combat. Very unlikely, a 1 in 36 chance. So, what the hell? I mean, I was ready in a bad spot, so I did make that charge. And to my surprise, I made it.
18 inches away, and he got in. I thought I had a turn to react, but...
And with that charge, I made it into combat, which was very ideal. It's kind of really turned the game around. In that close combat, I ended up actually killing his battle standard bearer, really changing the game. You really should put armor on him.
Yeah, he wasn't really equipped, honestly.
And it looks like on the other side of the battlefield, I did move up my knights to take out some of those rats, and they were easily taken care of. Another game changer was I actually did fire my Hellblaster volley gun, and I took out those globe throwers, which I really didn't expect. I need 6s to hit them, and I rolled 5, and I did 5 wounds, and they all dropped. So that really saved my knights from just getting dwindled down. During the combat, his battle standard did drop. I did win combat. He was steadfast and held his ground. We both ended up reforming to kill each other a little faster.
Skaven Turn 4. So I didn't have any charges this turn. For the most part, the slaves and the giant rats, everything kind of just stayed back so I could deal with the spearmen. And then really at this point, I did all this work trying to keep his stuff away from me. There's really no point in spreading out my troops. I really need those slaves in leadership bubble. And at the point when this army standing bear was alive, him also. So what I thought was a smart move with my Grey Seer was getting him out of the Storm Vermin unit. As you can see, I placed him over there, so he's still in line of sight of a bunch of different things to cast magic on. He can't get charged, or so I thought. I mean, his free company are so far away. But really, I just didn't want him getting caught up with the Witch Hunter because, I mean, he's gunning for me. He's got these extra rerolls and all this BS, and he's really not a fighting guy, so I got him out of the way there. So during the magic phase, I was able to get off Plague again. I did drop off 9 Spearmen, which was going to be great for combat. The other spell I was going to get off was Vermintide, so I actually held some dice aside to do that. Rich didn't use any of his Dispel dice against the Plague spell, which is great because I didn't decide to use the remaining dice, so he really didn't use any of his Dispel dice. So, all my volleys missed with all my War Machines. The Giselles kill another knight, slowly grinding down these units for victory points. I mean, as of right now, I've got a couple knights and a couple Pistoliers running around, they're really not doing any good to me if there's still one alive, so I'm trying to really get some victory points on there. The Knights actually fail their panic test, and they turn and run. So we hit combat. Really, the Army Standard Bearer was helping me out when he was alive with the Under Empire banner, which did a couple of wounds here and there. But now that he's dead, I'm really just relying on the clan rats themselves. Rich kills a bunch of them, and I was really actually hoping on the clan rats breaking, so I can get a flank charge in with the storm vermin. But unfortunately, I rolled a 5, which is what I exactly needed for them to stay. So they passed, and combat continued there, which isn't really what I wanted.
Empire turn 5. So for this turn, I saw some opportunities I wanted to capitalize on. Since his Gracier was outside his unit, I was going to try to kill him with my free company. Looking at it, for the Poison Globe Launcher, I required a roll of an 8 to make it into combat. If I did that, I would easily overrun into his Gracier and possibly kill him. And I attempted that charge. He did issue a flee. At that point, I took a leadership test to redirect into that Gracier. I needed a 9 to do so, and it was an 8 to get to the Poison Globe. Unfortunately, I did roll an 8, so if he did not issue a flee, I would have wiped out both of those guys, nice and easy. But they both live. I move up my unit about 6 inches or so after the false charge. I move into my shooting phase. Luckily, Nick seemed to have forgot about my crossbowmen sitting in a forest, and they had perfect vision on this Gracier. They unload and inflict 3 wounds, and kill off the Gracier since he already inflicted 1 wound. He already had 1 wound from a token. Yep. Moving on to close combat. Basically, it just seems like we fought it out. I did have the advantage there, and I severely won. He did the snake eyes to hold on. I did wipe him out. The only unfortunate part was I did not want to overrun. I took leadership tests not to. I failed. I had a Battle Standard Bearer. I took it again. I failed. But luckily I rolled extremely high and I did go off the map, preserving I didn't get flank charged by those storm vermin, because if I did, it would have just been over. And that's really about it for my turn.
Skaven Turn 5. So, really, what came down to it this turn was I just did a little bit of shooting here and there to grind them down. Wasn't able to kill any units entirely. At this point, Rich was getting a lot of victory points on me, so it wasn't really in his best interest to run up all those remaining units so I can kill them. I did reform my Storm Vermin to take on that unit when it was going to come back. We have that little placeholder to show where the Spearmen will be returning, so I'm just prepared to knock out some victory points there with the intentions of maybe knocking out a hero or 2 from that unit. But really, turn 5, nothing crazy. My Gracier's dead. I still have a lot of guys in the field, but we'll see what happens in Rich's turn 6.
Empire turn 6. So, another uneventful turn, mainly to the point that it looked like I had the game made. I barely lost any victory points at all. When my Spearmen came back, it was a unit worth 264 points. I immediately took a leadership test to march. At that point, I moved my heroes out of that unit. I knew that unit was dead right off the bat. I figured I'd save as much points as possible and leave those heroes alive. I ended up moving into the other side, on the opposite side of the Plague Claw, just so I knew it would always be an out-of-sight kind of thing, so it would always scatter, higher chances of them surviving. And for some other things, I knew my units on the right side of the board weren't really going to get into any position to fight. I ended up moving everything back and moving my Hellblaster volley gun outside of line of sight, more towards the tower, just in case if anything happened that was unexpected.
Skaven turn 6. So at this point, Rich did a great job of getting his heroes out of the way, so I didn't kill them and rack up the victory points on that. So I charged that unit. I pretty much destroy them. My catapult and some remaining shooting stuff knocks out a couple units here and there. And I caused a panic test for the Knights, but they didn't get off the board after failing their test. So as long as that troop's on the field, they do get credit for victory points. So that's it, really, at the end of turn 6. And the victory goes to
Empire.
So with the victory point breakdown, I ended up with 289 victory points.
which was just my spearman unit and the standard that they captured during that combat.
And Rich got 993. So it's pretty crazy because I actually ended up killing more stuff in this game. But with the breakdown for victory points, here, check this out. He killed 2 of my heroes, which came out to 365 points. And then he gets 100 points for killing the battle standard bearer. And then he gets 100 points for killing the general. So really, he walks away with almost 600 points in just heroes, which is pretty much the difference from 289 to 993. So I really screwed up this game in terms of my heroes. I know Rich was giving me a hard time about under-equipping my battle standard bearer.
I mean, come on. Literally, you could just add some armor to it, and you would have had extra rerolls and lots of stuff going on.
Yeah,
that good.
I mean, I spent the points in the magic banner, so you can't give any magic armor. And even going back, my armor saves were pretty low, so even a shield and a parry, I don't even know if anything would have made a difference. But yeah, victory to Rich with the victory points. So just going back over the game, so Richie's MVP was his...
My MVP was definitely the Spearman. Just that unit itself, I mean, making that glorious charge really turned the game. I mean, without it, I would have been a loss.
I was
no
shocked.
doubt.
That roll of a 12, we were just...
I just dropped it on the table. I'm like, it's going to be a 12. And it was a 12. Kind of didn't believe my eyes in a moment, but it worked out.
So he essentially moved, what was it, 12 plus your move, 16. So, right, 16? Yeah, so you moved 16 inches.
Yep, right in the combo.
Which to me was an extra 2 turns of shooting, casting magic. I mean, I really wasn't expecting that. Those giant rats were going to get in the raid, redirect him towards a position he didn't really want to be in. So that pretty much screwed me.
Pretty much. So the one that I really didn't care about and I was really kind of upset with was my greatswords. The turn that they turned and ran was really pivotal, mainly because I knew my spearman was going to be getting combat very soon. Granted, that turn to the next turn. And when they turned around and ran, of course, they ran 10 inches farther than they can march, so it really put them out of position. And my warrior priest that was in that unit, he had no problem casting his spells, but since he was never in combat, they made no difference.
The Skaven most valuable player was the Plague Claw catapults. Again, my war machines ended up doing better than anything else, killing all those great swords and various other stuff. But at the end of the day, since I wasn't able to mop up those units, even though I was killing 100, 200 points worth of infantry, didn't count for victory points because they were still sitting around. Those knights that 1 or 2 was left still was worth 120 points or whatever it was. The Pistoliers, still alive. That one guy was worth 100 points alone just because the unit is still floating around. So the big lesson I learned was probably to make sure my heroes are equipped a little bit better.
And they're inside the unit without someone aiming at them.
I know. For some reason, I just saw the Witch Hunter. I'm like, don't want to deal with it. I'll move him out. But you know what? Those sneaky little crossbowmen were still hiding in the forest. I totally disregarded them.
The funny part was, I kind of forgot about them too.
Yeah. Another cool thing I really need to test out more are these Globadiers. With the new scrimmage rules, they can march their full 10 inches and still throw, which is 8. So on turn 1, they have pretty much a utility range of 18 inches. So even on turn 2, they're ready to throw their mortar, their globes wherever they got to, or wherever they want to. So I might use them a little bit more just to see, where I can get them in usefully.
And another good thing about that is, I mean, even if they throw themselves in front of you, they do have quick to fire. So say if you have some heavy cavalry, you really have to think twice about charging in because that's a lot of points at risk there.
Right. Even if those giant rats weren't, setting up a redirect, at least I would be able to put them somewhere and maybe get a counter shot if he was to charge me. But yeah, those clan rats holding at that one point was kind of annoying because I really needed that charge, that flank charge, or even if it was a front charge, because if I would have killed that unit with the heroes still in there, it would have been the other way around. Mm-hmm. I was getting victory points for dead heroes, and I would have won. But it looks like Rich played a smart little cheesy move there, having the heroes run around. I can't blame him. I probably would have done the same. So
I do feel bad for at least the 6th turn. Usually the 5th and 6th turn is the pivotal point of the game where the most bloodshed is happening. And honestly, it was really just kind of just securing whatever we had left. It wasn't really a lot of battling. Very unlikely game.
Yeah. Another pretty important thing that we've learned is make sure you have the right dice laying around.
Oh,
there was a couple times we rolled. Here, look at this roll. Rich rolled a misfire. This is for his Hellblaster. He rolled a misfire, a scatter, and a 25 for his Hellblaster.
I just grabbed 3 dice, and I just thought there were 3 artillery dice. Apparently, one was for 40k, one was a scatter die, and one was actually regular. It was a pretty funny roll.
And then before that, he rolled a misfire, a 5, and a 4. And I didn't even think twice about it. I was like, okay, he got 9 hits on me.
Yeah.
And then if you look, that dice is definitely not the appropriate dice.
Yeah, and I thought about it, and I was just like, wait, I have to divide my shots by 2. It should always be even numbers. This is strange.
But pretty good game. Sorry that it was a little boring towards the end, but not every game's going to be the same. So hope you guys enjoyed. If you like, please subscribe and leave some comments. Great. Thanks.